All right, let's dive right in. Today, we've got a seriously cool showdown for you. We're talking about a clash of eras, a real battle of technology. We're going to take an iconic piece of ancient military gear and put it up against a force it was never, ever meant to face.
So this is the big question, right? Could the legendary Roman shield, which was pretty much the peak of defensive tech back in its day, actually stand a chance against the brutal, raw physics of a much later age? We're going to find out. Okay, so first up, let's meet our ancient contender. We're talking about the Roman Scutum. This thing was so effective, it basically became the symbol of Roman military power. But here's the thing. Was it really unbreakable?
In this quote right here, it just nails what this is all about. The Scutum wasn't just a slab of wood, it was a masterpiece of engineering. So the real question is, does that clever, ancient design, that specific shape and structure, actually hold up when the whole game changes? When the very nature of the attack, this kinetic evolution, is completely different?
So what made this shield so good in the first place? To really understand its limits, we first have to appreciate its strengths. Let's get into the nuts and bolts of the Scutum. So, the Scutum, you gotta understand, this was a highly engineered system. It wasn't simple at all. The two big keys to its success were that curved body and its composite, layered construction. That design made it the absolute peak of personal defense for centuries.
And here's a closer look at that incredible engineering. You had layered plywood, with the wood grains running in different directions, which made it super tough against a slashing sword. And that curve, that wasn't just for looks. It was designed to deflect blows away from the soldier, spreading the force of an impact. The whole thing was perfectly optimized for the kind of fighting they did back then.
All right, so we've met our defender. Now let's bring in the challenger. And we're not talking about a sword or a spear here. We are talking about the raw, absolutely crushing force from a totally different, more powerful era of weaponry. This right here is the whole ballgame, the kinetic evolution of warfare. To put it simply, it's just the relentless march of technology. It's about weapons getting better and better at delivering pure, destructive energy onto a single point. A spear has kinetic energy, sure, but an industrial-age iron bolt, we're talking a whole different league of destructive power.
So here it is, the tale of the tape. In one corner, you have the Scutum, with its clever defensive geometry and its layered wood. And in the other corner, you have the iron bolt, with its far superior material and just overwhelming kinetic force. This is a classic matchup, brilliant design versus raw, brute power.
So how in the world do you test something like this? You can't just build a time machine, right? Well, the answer is to blend history with some seriously cutting-edge technology. Welcome to what we're calling the virtual Colosseum. The process they used is just incredible. So first, scientists use something called archaeological metallurgy to figure out the exact properties of the original materials. Then, they built this perfect 3D model, taking the shield apart layer by virtual layer. And finally, they unleashed the digital iron bolt using an AI-driven simulation so they can analyze the stress on the shield at every single microsecond of the impact.
And that brings us to the main event. All the research, all the modeling, all the tech, it all comes down to this one single violent moment.
So here we are, the big moment. Does that brilliant ancient engineering hold up, or does it just completely collapse under the crushing force of a future it could never, ever have seen coming? And the verdict is in, it's not even close. The simulation shows a complete catastrophic failure. The shield doesn't just crack or break, its entire structural integrity just collapses.
But what's really crucial here isn't just that it failed, it's how it failed. Look at this. The impact caused complete penetration right through the plywood, and that, in turn, compromised the shield's greatest strength, its defensive geometry. The whole thing just gave way. Total structural collapse. It was utterly defeated.
So, what's the big takeaway here? This whole digital demolition derby, it isn't really just about a Roman shield. It's about a much bigger, more timeless idea, that constant battle between engineering and evolution. And this really gets to the heart of it all. Any defense, it doesn't matter how perfectly it's engineered for its time, will eventually, inevitably be overcome by the relentless progress of offense. The Scutum was an absolute masterpiece, no doubt about it, but it was a masterpiece of its era.
And that kind of leaves us with the final, really important question to chew on. Thinking about this historical clash, what does it tell us about our own time? Is the most advanced body armor, the most sophisticated missile defense we have today, is it truly ready for the threats that are being dreamed up for tomorrow? It really makes you think, doesn't it? Thanks for digging into this with me.